So yeah, this meeting, I'm here, I'm offering this time and this energy to be helpful, to be supportive in any way I can on this process that is deeply personal. The process it's absolutely personal. It's very specifically to you and for you. No one else can really understand. We can talk and support each other, but this process you have to do it for yourself, and you will reach your own conclusion. It will unfold in the way that it has for you. At the same time, it is it is the same for everyone, and that's the paradox of what is here. So I'm open to any question, any sharing, anything that you feel that you want to share. And I want to say thank you again for people who are giving donation. I really appreciate it. So yeah, if you have any question, you can just, it's an open mic, so you can simply open the mic and ask a question or share something that is meaningful to you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Something that's been coming to me that I don't understand is I've been working with a guide. I've been working with Vincent. And frequently I will hear questions like, I'm struggling with my thought connection for whatever reason. Give me 1 second. Um, okay, it's like if I say I see something, I'm seeing something. The question might be put back to me. Is it you? Is there someone who is actually doing the seeing, or are you just experiencing seeing? Okay, there's two things about that. One of them is it, I'm noticing that it feels like a leading question, and I already know what the answer is supposed to be, kind of.
Mhm.
And then I feel some resistance because in my mind, I think I'm still traveling in the mind. Um, Looking to experience the answer, but not experiencing the answer, but understanding what the answer is intellectually. And it's like a rabbit hole for me. I mean, that's just one tiny example. It all feels like a big rabbit hole. Um, I'm not going to go into this story right now, but I'm a caregiver and I lost a client day before yesterday. I was there when she passed, and you know, I was just having such confusion. Um, I find myself sometimes dismissing what's happening. A thought will come in, this this isn't real, but it doesn't, that thought is not helpful.
Mhm.
I'm trying to see, but I'm also being told I can't see with my mind. But my mind keeps putting this desire in me to want to see. And recently, I kind of felt like, fuck it. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm just not going to pursue this anymore. I'm stopping. I'm going to go right back into my life here and just live. And that's it. I'm not going to explore this anymore because it feels like it makes me crazy sometimes. It feels there's a relentless desire. It feels relentless. And I'm trying to understand something with a part of me that I'm not able to access. I know it's there, but I'm not able to access it, and I just don't understand why. So my question actually is this, David, and I do appreciate you um a lot, and I appreciate my guide a lot. But there are times when I wonder if when I come to the meeting, if I'm still just doing all of this like uh hamster wheel kind of stuff, trying to understand something that cannot be grasped. And I'm, I don't know. Is it useful? I want to know. And I don't mean that in a dismissive way of your work. It's not that. I'm not coming from that place. I want to know, is there some kind of facilitation that can happen by continuing to explore these ideas? That's what I want to know. Because I feel like I'm lost right now. Um, yeah, thank you. I thank everybody here who comes here for sharing. I really do appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Patea, for your authenticity and to be open. And your question and your doubt are very welcome here. And I understand this sensation of being in a endless wheel, right? That it's never ends. To your question, it is useful. It is useful to me. If it is useful, you have to answer this question for yourself. I'm not here to convince you that it's useful. Either you feel it's useful or you feel it's not. But if you feel that you want to go back to your life, well, do it, you know. Not that there is no way out of this. Once once the taste is there, it never the longing never vanished. That's my experience and people who I work with. Sometimes what happens is like you say, we at the beginning we try to understand from a perspective that is limited and cannot understand it. It just can't, because the finite mind, the understanding of the finite mind is bounded by its capacity, by its limitation. So at some point it's useful. At some point you start to see that it just gets stuck on it's very confusing because the mind tries to understand something that is higher or bigger than itself. And the finite mind just don't have the capacity to go further in the understanding. So sometimes the usefulness of the confusion or the usefulness of trying, at some point there is really a mysterious kind of opening, like I'm done, I'm tired. But it's not I'm tired of trying, is I'm tired of the limitation of the finite mind. And this is when something happened and there is different sensitivity and it's infinite, right? But at some point you start to see, I will never understand this from a human perspective, with a human understanding. I will never understand this. But the the exploration, it's really mind-blowing and amazing. Do you listen to classical music, or do you listen to music that sometimes just, or maybe in the past, that just something happened when you listen to music and just something happened in you? Did it happen one time in your life?
I'm a former musician for 30 years, so yeah, it happened all the time.
Yeah. Ah, look at that. That's why I talk about music. So, see, do you try to understand music,
No.
but you spend years on this, learning it and practicing it. So there is a part that understanding, like the music, the melody, the rhythm, the reading the melody, the understanding each instrument, understanding the place of it. There is a huge part that is really like just intellectual understanding, right? But the real pleasure is not this. The real pleasure is I don't understand, but there is a flow, right? There is something happening. There's a mysterious
Yes.
thing that is happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but now if you have to give a conference about a specific music, I don't know, Mozart, Beethoven, and you start to talk about music, about notes, about time, about you see, you will talk about everything, but everything you talk about music, the real juice is not really about that. The real juice is what you do, the note and the instrument is a support to feeling something. And this is a little bit can be a good representation of what's happening in a higher understanding for who you are and the sense of beingness. Beingness, we we try to talk about it. There is tradition, there is books, there is different ways, there is everything is fine. But the real juice is not writing a book about it. The real juice is to feel that, to feel this. Just like music, the real goal of music is not to read the notes, right? Is to listen to it, to feel the vibration, to be part of something, right? It's just something's happening, but it's not understandable. If I ask you why music is so amazing,
I have no answer.
you have no answer. But if a kid if a kid ask you the question, you may provide an answer, right? Because I like the vibration, because I like, you will give something just to point towards toward this experience, even if you know that it will be inaccurate and it will not be precise, right? But it's just, to answer something if it is needed. So you ask me, is it useful, those meetings, reading books, and all of this? Well, it depends your sensitivity and where you are. Is and I think music and art, it's a beautiful example because it is very, very similar. It's like it is useful for Mozart to read, for a great musician like you, like 30 years of instrument. It is useful for you to read books about technicality about music. It is useful. Well, maybe for you, maybe not. But you are the only one who knows, right? Where you are, how you can apply it concretely. And the usefulness of something technical like those meetings, it's the usefulness, how you will apply it in your life. And by in the application, that's when you play the music and the effect is there is openings in you.
That
So
helped me.
the yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to the question, for example, forgot what you said, like who is the one seeing?
I know the answer when it's put to me, is there someone actually doing the seeing, or is it just the experience of seeing? I know what
Exactly.
the answer is. It's a leading question. It's a
Yeah,
leading
yeah.
question, so I know what the answer is supposed to be, but I feel like I'm going there with my mind. So I'm
Mm,
answering it in my mind. I'm not even sure at that moment if I believe that it's just seeing, if you know what I mean. I just understand that that's where I'm being led,
mm.
but I'm not, but the experience of just seeing and there's no one seeing, that's, I mean, I think I've had some rare moments, but nothing is what you're talking about and what Vince has talking about and other people, other teachers in non-duality have mentioned that the seeking ends. That has not happened. So I assume by that that although it's right here, accessible to everyone, and I'm just repeating things I've learned. It's right here. It's accessible. It's right here. So I'm saying that, but that's not an experience because if it was an experience of it, I don't think I would be in conflict anymore.
Mm.
I, in meditation, have had a lot of phenomena, and I've come to accept that no matter what happens, I just accept it now. But I don't, but I'm done meditating then. And for a while afterwards, I have a sense, there's a sense. I don't know even words for it, but a sense. That's all I can say about it. Honestly, I'm trying to find a word and I can't find one. But throughout the day, it's replaced, or I find myself back in an internal made up drama that I just repeat, that just repeated over and over again. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm back here. How did I get here? It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I
Yeah.
guess I want a solution to that, the angst of life. I want a solution to that, I guess. Anyway, there's other people who may want to talk, and I'm very aware of sharing. So I appreciate what you've said, and I think I'll stop now, unless you have something else to say, but I'll stop on my end in case somebody else wants to bring something of their own.
Mm. You know, this sense that you feel, often it start to expand, to expand, to expand, and start to colonize everything. At the beginning, you feel that you are a person that sits to meditate, to find some peace from this to this busy life that we have. But the more you grow in sensitivity, at some point you start to see, oh no, it's the opposite. I'm this open-ended space, and from time to time there is this this drama appearing and disappearing. But this mental habit, that's the interpretation. You, the life as it is unfolding to you, it is this habit that is seemingly repeating itself, even if it never repeats, but it's just a way of speaking, right? And that's where understanding can be very useful and very powerful, because the way out is to see that is to see clearly what is happening and the way it is happening, and that's the freedom.
I'm going to take that home.
Yeah, you know, I tried to play piano for a while, and it was very interesting because I've I'm very bad for music. I'm attuned, so I cannot anyway. But I try very hard, right, for a year or two. It was very interesting because at some point my mind just gets stuck on some rhythm, right? Just wanted to play very similar rhythm constantly, right? It has the repetition pattern. And I'm not a musician, but I love art. And I see in art it's beautiful because But the arts often it allows you to learn to step out of those repeating patterns that you can have that is impeding you being really creative, to really open yourself to what's the way it has to unfold. And that's a process, right? So the when you say that you have this sense of opening and at some point you feel kind of catch up again the drama and all of this, this is the habit. And that's why there is these meetings, that's why when we gather together with other people with this intention, it is often useful because it's kind of a reminder, right? That, oh yeah, right, there is another way. There is, sensitivity can grow. But that's why I was speaking at the beginning about to understand that what you perceive is an interpretation. It's very important because when you start to really understand this and experientially you see, all right, everything I see, it's an interpretation by my mind. You see that the life out there is not an imposition to you. You are not a victim of the circumstances that are around you. And that can be very, very powerful. Because you see, the story I'm perceiving is the story I'm telling myself. So then it's not how to change the stories. Why do I keep telling myself those stories? It's a very different way. Maybe on paper it doesn't look like much, but if when you start to see this, it make a huge difference within you and in the relationship and the way you relate to others. Because you stop to feel like a victim of the world, of the relationship, of the universe. You start to see, oh no, there is something in me that is kind of manufacturing those stories.
Thank you.
Yeah. And at some point, you will start to feel things happening. Like right now, there is something happening. What it is, nobody knows, but something is happening. And you start to attune more to this unpalpable, obvious actuality than the story, than the past, than the drama, conflict, and all of that. But we have spent decades, 20, 30, 40, 80 years building an individuality, building a person, building a drama, building a world. So then, there can be some resistance to kind of to stop this habit, to withdraw from this habit that we have built in our own mind. So we have to be gentle with ourselves and never compare yourself with other people. You don't know where people are. So, nobody knows where anyone else is. So you just do whatever makes sense for you in the moment and follow your own inner intelligence, your own inner intuition, and let it happen. Let it unfold.
I appreciate that share greatly. I relate to the musical part because I've been a musician all my life. And that was the only way I could understand how to be somebody because it meant something to me. It was safety, it was God, it was everything. And but it was always achieving. I have to be better, better, better. And I've done major things. I've done Broadway tours and all sorts of stuff. But at some point, I quit. I just let it all go because it wasn't fun. I didn't account for the anxiety that was coming, in performing and on and on. And I stopped. I just stopped for a couple of years, and I had started seeing teachers and understanding this path a little better. But when I went back to it, in the mindset that it doesn't matter anymore, I don't really care, the mastery went up. It was quite a shock. I don't care, and the mastery goes up. Pretty interesting. So, because all the drama's gone, the anxiety's gone, the what I was looking for was in dismantling my idea of how it should be. Very interesting. I'd like to point out one incident I had. I was on a tour, and I had a lot of percussion to play, and I made a little botch. I made a mistake, and this is the only time this has ever happened. I jolted out of body and entered a flow that was so powerful. I mean, the awareness was incredible. I was aware of myself. I'm still playing, and yet that flow was, I was cleaned out of everything except what I needed to do. It was like I could play whatever they wanted as long as they wanted, on and on and on and on. It was just remarkable. It was a true in the moment experience. It was so clean. I was so cleaned out. Really wonderful. I just share that because having a musician here would understand. So I relate also that where I'm at too. I've just started having a guide in LU, and I find myself just kind of looking in space. Just I have nowhere to go. I could say I'm lost, but then that's I know to pull the plug in that thought. All the thoughts that would come to like get me out, and because I need to go somewhere. I need to go somewhere. I need to do something. I'll just pull the plug. I like that image. I just pull the plug and just sit there. But I'll be sitting there. Just sit there. And I eventually have to get up and do something. But uh, I should mention at 28, I did have an experience, quite a large experience, where I was pretty cleaned out, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, I was 28, not a clue, and I didn't even want it. The message was, your struggle's over. You don't have to do anything. And I didn't know what that meant, because I still, as a musician, that was over, definitely the ego was still on a path, needing to be somebody. But it already knew that. It said, you're not ready for this. But I was there. I was right there. And whatever message I was receiving was perfectly fine. It said, you're going to go back to having grudges and hatred, and it was all perfectly okay. I've since learned that there's no problem right here and right now. So I'm lucky that I have a little idea of what's there, but still I don't have any more expectations of how things should be. or how it's going to come next time, or if it ever comes, it's, it never comes to the person, to the one who has a perspective on things. It's not going to come to that mind. So again, like you said, kind of accept that we can't understand this. But glad to be here. Appreciate your insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Beautiful. I love artists. I am a frustrated artist. No, very beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for your sharing. And this is often a fear that appear when some people start with this process, and and when this process really start to kick in, there can be huge fears that come up, and often one of the fears, what about my life, right? What about my family? What about my work? What about money? What about this? And it's difficult to explain that. In fact, it will be better, even if it's impossible to convince you of that until you really see it. You see that the problem is not your life relationship. The problem is like there is something in you that is imposing something on every situation, every relationship, and that's the struggle. When this struggle start to dissolve or even disappear, you see that there is no conflict in relationship, even if the relationship is very intense. The intensity is not a problem. The problem is not in the event. The problem is, like you explained beautifully, Mark, it is somewhere else. And we can enter into higher levels of functioning. But who cares? Functioning bad, functioning good. This is not, it can happen, but it's, if you seek those states, you are again falling back into assumption, into seeking. And I think the true freedom, it's freedom from the need to be liberated. That's the ultimate freedom. To understand that, that's why I speak often about perception, to understand that this is not a limitation. Right? Your human life is not a limitation. Thank you, Mark. Beautiful. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
The practice of who am I, and the idea that what we are is, the emptiness. And then when you're seeing, you say who is seeing, or and then you look who is seeing, and there's nothing there. And then who is hearing, and then you look and there's nothing there. Anyway, it is practice, is ancient, and so I try to do it, but then I feel I'm divided between the emptiness and then what is the visible. It's like a division somehow, a separation. And also it makes me quite tense because I feel like I need to do it all the time. And then if I'm lucky at some moment, I'll have this big awakening, or even a little awakening would be nice. And then I would see the truth. And then I would have an answer to this torment of seeking all the time and never finding. And so I was just wondering what you think of that, because it makes me unhappy to, to do that practice where I'm always trying to find who I am by doing this technique. And yet it's highly recommended by great teachers. So, so I think, I wish I could just not integrate my life so it wasn't divided like that. You know, I could just maybe just live my life and be aware while I'm living my life without separating myself into emptiness and visibility and visible things. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I don't really encourage the who am I exploration, even if it's a completely valid exploration. But it's just the confusing. It's often we hear the question and we start the exploration from confusion, from a wrong identification. So you never understand anything really. But it's like a koan. It can be really beautiful. And the intention, what is powerful is the intention. Because you say never finding. Well, in fact, never finding is the answer. But it's not the answer that you want. So the true problem is not finding who you are. Is that you don't see the assumption that you are having on what you are.
Well,
And
I just, yeah.
and
What?
the assumption is a thought. That's why
Right.
often that's why from where I start my course, because to understand the nature of thoughts, it's very powerful. The who you are will come. It's inevitable that you start to see who you are when you understand the nature of thought, because the nature of thought is all constantly pouring and manufacturing answers. But the answer are not really answer. Every answer that you hear in your mind, it's an affirmation of something. You know? But they are not really questions. They are affirming something. It's an affirmation, it's an assumption that is disguised as question. So if you are sensitive to how thoughts unfold and what is the nature of thought, it will give you great insight into who you are.
Well, I assume that I'll find out I'm nothing if I keep at this, you know, that I'll find out my nature is nothing and just, you know, the container for everything, but I basically am nothing. I think that's what I'm supposed to find out.
But you see, you are starting with assumption,
Yeah.
straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
You are saying, I know what I am, and I will ask the question to find a confirmation of that. You have to say, really, to be really honest, who am I? And you will see there will be answers, and you have to explore each answer if this is the exploration you want to do. And the difficulty is you will dismiss them because they don't correspond to your assumption, but you miss the purpose of this question. The purpose of this question is not to find the answer, because there is no answer. The purpose is to investigate every answer that arises. I'm David. Okay, I'm David. Yeah, that's right, I'm David. Yeah. Okay, but what is David? What do I mean by David? Well, it's this body. Okay. What is this body really? When I say body, what do I mean by that? What is the real meaning of this in my direct experience? You see sensations. And then you say, but are you a sensation, Doris? Scan all of your experience and tell me, are you a sensation?
I have a sensation. I have sensations, but
You
It's-
have, but are you one of them specifically?
No,
You see? So you are not a body.
yeah, I know that intellectually.
That's why I'm telling you to explore it very deeply
Yeah.
in actuality.
Mm,
I know that you know the answer. Everyone
Yeah.
knows an answer,
mhm.
but there is an intellectual answer and there is a concrete, actual, direct experience that feels right. And I think we talk about music because apparently music it's good today. And I'm not a musician, but I like to pretend to be an artist of any kind. But sometimes I'm, I'm listening artists talking, and when they talk about a piece of music and there is something missing in the middle, you to find the missing note or the missing piece or something is not intellectual. They know the theory of harmonic, they know all of the pieces, they know intellectually, but to find the perfect sound, the perfect piece of sound that is missing in this sound, right? It is very small. You have to get into this divine intelligence, to this pure creativity that give you when the sound appear, this is it. And there is no reflection. There is a direct answer of yes, that's it. There's no reflection, there's nothing. And this question is it's aspiring, pointing to this kind of direct revelation of who you are. But you have to go very slowly, very carefully, to be very precise and very sensitive, which often, if you ask this question, is because you lack all of that. So that's why often those questions it doesn't really work. I mean, if it is useful, great. But I'm hearing a lot of people are really struggling with this question often. But it's a tool, so if it's useful, great.
I'm afraid if I don't do it, that I won't get enlightened, that I won't get, if I don't do that technique, then I won't get what I want.
What do you want?
I want to know who I really am.
You want enlightenment, and then you will be enlightened. And then
Yeah,
what is enlightenment?
it's knowing the true nature, the essence of a person, not just, what they think they are, but what they really are, which is just the vast space that holds everything and has no qualities really or differentiations. It just holds everything.
Hmm. So you know what is enlightenment.
Well, but I don't have a direct experience. I want a direct experience.
But you see, if you pretend that you know something, you're not open to revelation of any kind.
Mm.
That's the difficulty that often people who are reading too much find. It's great, I love it, but at some point we have difficulty to accept our stupidity. We are the mind is stupid, not because we did something wrong, but because its capacity is so limited that it is just ridiculous. But we like to believe that we know a lot of things, right? Yeah, no, it is empty space, and we use poesy. Yeah, it's like an open cloud, endless, and it's beautiful. That's fine. That's fine. But the the actuality is infinitely more than that. That's why I really invite you to start to really say, I don't know. I think I don't know can be more powerful for you. When something happened, I don't know. What is someone asking what is enlightenment? I don't know. Who are you? I feel I'm Doris, but really I don't know. How to be happy? I don't know. Start your day with I don't know anything. But try to feel that it's a fact that you really don't know. You really don't know how to be happy. That's why you are not happy. You really don't know how you don't know anything if you really look at it. So look at it. What do you really know? 99.99999% it's hearsay. We learned it in the past or it's a hearsay. So we don't know anything. The only fact is I feel I'm present and there is experience. And that's the only fact that we have. But you see, you impose limitation and then you seek answers. It's like my kid come to me often, more and more. He come to me and he asks me, he draws something and asks me, "What is this?" And I answer and say, "No, you are wrong. This is a dinosaur." Okay, okay, okay. What is this? A dinosaur? Yeah, you are right. You are right. That's exactly the mind. The mind is pretending to leaving you open. Yeah, you can seek, ask anything, but it's completely opposite. Yeah. And that's very hard to step out of this. It's very, very hard. That's why art, music, painting, dance, movement, and tai chi, yoga, any kind of art can be very powerful for this, because to transcend what you have learned, that is to transcend the technique, you have to become really an artist. You have to transcend the techniques, the technicality and the limitation of whatever you are doing, to enter into something else. And that's the zone. That's why artists love art, because of this zone, right? Or drivers or everything. It's just a place that there is just what's happening. But it's possible to enter into those states without too much struggle also. And that's why we are very arrogant. To say I know something is very arrogant. Yeah.
The states you just mentioned, they're temporary states through movement or art, or they don't necessarily tell a person what they really are, their true nature.
Why not?
Well, they might temporarily, but experiences seem to come and go.
Yeah.
Well, aren't there? I mean, a deep enlightenment is a permanent experience.
How do you know that?
I read that.
Yeah, so again, you see, you are holding assumption. It may be permanent, it may be not. What does permanent mean? What is enlightenment? What is a small enlightenment? What is a big one? If there is no time, who is enlightenment for a long time? If there is no reference point, it is endless, infinite space. How do you evaluate big and small? What if enlightenment looks exactly like what is happening to you right now?
I would be just very disappointed.
Why?
Because I'm not happy.
Why are you not happy?
I don't like the way I feel. And
What is wrong with what you feel?
And I have a lot of regrets and guilt. I just feel kind of heavy and depressed.
Heavy is a sensation.
Yeah.
So a sensation is not really the issue. Heaviness is like gravity. We all have a gravity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since we are born, even in the womb, we are fighting gravity.
Mm-hmm.
to eat, to do anything, you are fighting gravity constantly. That's why you have muscles to fight gravity. So yeah, there is heaviness. Yeah, there is gravity. So what? What's wrong with this sensation?
It's not enjoyable.
Why not?
It feels better to be light, to feel light.
Yeah. So right now you feel only heavy.
Not real bad, just a little bit.
So you feel light a little bit somewhere?
No, not very much. Just more. I notice heavy more.
Mm. So you see, you seek enlightenment to get rid of sensations.
Yeah.
So in fact, the process that so this is not curiosity. This is desperation. You want enlightenment to get rid of the sensation. But the way out is explore the sensation, so to learn to be with sensation, and you will see the guilt and the regret that you talk about and the depression. That's the past.
The past.
Yeah, that's thoughts.
Uh-huh.
So basically, when you ask, that's my impression. When you ask, who am I? You are saying, I am a Doris. I had a terrible life that I don't like. I have a terrible body that I don't feel comfortable in. Show me, tell me that I'm something else because I want to get rid of this. But this is not curiosity. This is desperation, which is fine. I'm not judging. Maybe it's that terrible. I'm just saying you cannot explore when you are in that state because you want to get rid of things. So instead of trying to get rid of all of that, start to face it. And you will see there is no monster under the bed. I assure you, you can. I had terrible time in my life, and I assure you, in the bottom of depression, there is not these terrible things that thoughts is implying. And I just want maybe to really separate. You can separate that sometimes it can be useful to just separate the pain and the uncomfortable sensations from one side and the story from another. And that's what I talk about differentiation. When you start to learn to differentiate thoughts and sensation, even if it is impossible because you think with all of you with all your body, so it's kind of just to be useful, not to be precise or inaccurate. But if you start to learn to differentiate, it will give you more space and more space and more space. And it will be easier to be with your experience. And the more space you feel, the more comfortable you feel, the more easier it is for deep exploration and for have a true and deep curiosity. Because anytime you do something to get rid of something, you are implying you are doing an amplification, right? What you want to avoid get bigger and stronger. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you. It
Yeah.
does. Mhm. I kind of like it actually, exploring it like that because I've never heard that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I experience depression too, or have in the past for many, many years. I was on antidepressants forever, probably 25 years, I want to say. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they stopped working, and my psychiatrist said, let me add another antidepressant. And I just said, okay, I'm done here. And instead, I decided to start trying to microdose um, mycelium, which is mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. Everything was just going swell. I was tweaking my dose, but it was unbelievable relief. And then I had my stroke, and since then I've been afraid to do anything again with psychedelics for obvious reasons. I would just wanted to ask a question, David, because I think this could be, well, it would be helpful for me for sure. I just came out of a depression, which really surprised me, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. But while I was in it, I, uh, I mean, for lack of a better reference, and this is a terrible reference, but it almost felt like a good and evil battle with my body and mind and my meditation practice and understanding the non-duality teachings and pointings that were coming to me. It felt like my body was revolting in some way. Like, I'm still here. Remember what this feels like? This bad feeling of depression. I'm just reminding you that I still have control. Kind of that. And I guess I'm wondering if if that experience could be validated in some way. Because then yesterday, after my client died on Sunday, I think today's Wednesday, right? My client died on Monday. Interestingly enough, I felt like my depression started lifting yesterday out of nowhere, and it just there was no explanation except that I sort of felt like something in me had seen the depression. That's the only way I can describe it. Do you feel like there's truth in this struggle for our body to not relinquish control and craft ways of roping us back into this, whatever our particular drama is? Is there truth in that?
Well, to me, the
Sorry, I
struggle is
didn't.
not really with the body. All the struggle is always in the mind, and the struggle is not an imposition from outside. It's simply that there is habit, and there is mind and body individual that are drawn to depression, sadness, nostalgia, all of this kind. And it just the habit of this system is to be in that mood. So when you start to taste what you are, and you start to kind of feel that, oh, I'm something else, the system, can find very threatened, because it start to lose its balance, it start to lose its normality, it start to lose what is right and wrong, start to lose what is a connection, start to lose what is, what is the purpose of everything. And this can bring a lot of fear and desperation. But if something happened and you feel better, and you cannot explain it, I wouldn't jump too fast into trying to understand. I would just feel that, oh great, I saw the depression. That means something for me. Oh great, just don't try to understand, because often when we try to understand too fast, we kind of forget that we understand to feel expansion, but when we feel expansion, we want to understand it. So somehow we are kind of pushing and pulling at the same time, right? So at the moment, you know, we are maybe reading and doing things. At some point, it's expanding. So just feel the expansion, just enjoy it as much as you can. At some point, it will contract again, and just feel that, you know. So if something happened, don't, you know, I don't have answer for you. You know, if something happened for you and that's great, well, beautiful, beautiful. Start, start to give value to those moments that something happened, right? Remember, yeah, I don't understand, but something happened. This is how reality works. This is how awareness works. It doesn't work like understand something A plus B equal whatever. No, it's unspeakable, but it is something's happened. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
You see?
It
So
was
trust
like
that.
yeah. I mean, I think I know what happened, but I saw my depression. I I've always like seen my depression as something I needed to fix.
Ah,
And this time around, I was surprised. I'm like, what are you doing here? And this sucks. I know who you are. But then there was like, screw it. Come
you
on,
see?
bring it on, bring
Beautiful.
it on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just decided to just wait. You can have me. I'm not going to try to intellectualize you or figure out what the trigger was, or all this stuff that I used to do that took me absolutely nowhere,
Mhm.
you know? Um, Anybody who's ever experienced depression over many, many years knows it's just a rabbit hole. You can keep going forever. You know, you can go back to being in the womb and having trauma there if you want to. There can be past life trauma. I mean, you can keep going thousands of years. Who knows? It doesn't go anywhere
Yeah,
though. It just doesn't go anywhere.
yeah.
So that's what I meant when I said I saw my depression. It was like, anyway.
But you see, this is another way that we say don't make it real. But depression arrive to you. If you don't take depression as depression, you just, you know, it's completely different. That's what you know, what you are expressing. And you remember at the beginning, you asked a question about confusing my life. I don't know what's happening, this process, all of this. See this also. See the confusion. You will see it's exactly like depression. You will see it coming like, oh yeah. And just like depression, if you try to resolve confusion, if you try to do something about depression, you are entering into the game of depression, and then you are lost again, right? But this is what I'm talking about, seeing. This is seeing, Pater. This is seeing.
Okay. It doesn't feel very profound or anything, I guess. But I'm hearing you.
Well, I don't know
I'm
if you are
hearing you.
depressed for if you are here if you are a story of being depressed of 25 years, taking medication, and now you are seeing depression, and you're not fighting it, you're not in fear, you're like, okay, let's go. This is all profound. Well,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know what kind of
Yeah.
imagination you are having. You see how you are diminishing what's
Yeah.
happening? You see?
Yes. I just saw that. Okay.
This is seeing again. Yeah.
Okay.
And when confusion come, see the confusion coming.
Okay.
Just like you saw depression coming, just see the confusion coming. And this is saying, the more you do this, the more you are standing as awareness, standing as awareness, standing as awareness. And I assure you, it is very profound.
Okay.
And it comes also with, this is nothing. You know, like, I saw this, no, this is nothing, just forget this and look at that now. Yeah. This is distraction, right? So this is keeping that space that you say, I saw depression. Well, from that place, see everything that comes if you can. Remember that smell, that taste, whatever words make sense for you. Yeah. This is seeing. This is where the
Thank
question,
you.
who is watching? Who is the one watching? What is seeing? Is there something seeing? This is what they're talking about. But the mind says, no, that's nothing. Just, move on. No, pay attention, be sensitive. This is it. It's just, it is so obvious that we kind of overlook it, that this is nothing. We completely overlook it. But if you stay there, you will see more and more, and you will see, like, oh my God, in fact, this is just, I can see everything. Yeah, you can see way more than you can even imagine.
Isn't there a teaching that speaks to this called "There's no confusion in confusion"?
Mhm.
Hi, David.
Hello, Ray.
Um, so I kind of have I don't know, it almost feels like there's a theme of depression going on here, which is something that I can relate to very much. Um, and you know, you mentioned desperation and like the feeling of wanting, feeling the suffering and just not wanting, trying to find some kind of solution to it. And that's very much, I think that's very much where I am. And so, you know, I'm not really sure what to do with that, right? Because it just feels very much like the situation for me, where it's like, well, I'm suffering. I have these, feelings of despair, inadequacy, feeling like I may never be happy because I'm not capable in some way. And I just don't like, I just don't like that. Like that doesn't feel, uh, I don't know. It feels like I'm in a very, in a difficult situation where I guess kind of what it feels like is that I'm doing the wrong thing, but I can't help it. You know? Like I'm trying to make something go away because I don't like it, but I can't help that I don't like it. And so I'm just I feel a little bit stuck, you know?
Mm. Well, first, don't do your best to see that the judgment is a thought.
Mhm.
That is, there is a difficult situation. The situation is an interpretation, but okay, let's say there is a difficult situation, and then I feel terrible within me. right? I feel I don't like the situation, right? But at the same time, I cannot change the fact that I don't like it. Well, don't judge yourself to not like the sensation to begin with. The more you take your sensation and what's happening in a neutral way, the better it is. Just like if I put a knife through my arm right now and I tell you, I don't like the sensation, but I don't know how to accept it, you'll tell me, you're just insane. It's just, of course, it's painful. It's normal, you have to do something. But it's just the same with everything. So something happened, it's just, it's just what's happening. Then you have a possibility, there is an action to improve it or not. This is depending of the universe itself. But the first movement is just to see that the event, which is an interpretation, and the I don't like it are both appearing in the same mind, in you, right? They are both things in you that seem to be fighting, which is fine. Yeah. And the best of your ability, try to just be gentle.
Mm.
The difficulty with depression, with the sense of despair, the sense of being stuck, is to stay with it in a tactile way, in a somatic way. That's really the key, but it's the hardest things to do. But it is the only way. That is to see that the interpretation that the mind is doing is a thought, but at the same time trying to stay with the somatic experience of what is uncomfortable. Because often we are very confused about both of them. And very often. Sometimes people say, I'm suffering. It's terrible. I say, okay, so you feel it. Yeah, of course, I feel terrible. Where do you feel it in the body? They don't really know. So it's like, what are you talking about? Are you, are you thinking about something? Or are you really feeling something? Which, of course, at some point they're one and the same, but just at the beginning, it just really helped to see. Ah, yeah, that's a thought. So in fact, it's 95% is it's a story, and 5% it's attention in the stomach. So the tension in the stomach, it's fine. I can live with that. But with the thoughts, I can't. But when you start to learn to differentiate, you start to see, and you start to learn to be able to be with difficult sensations. To be with a difficult sensation, very tense, very heaviness, or even pain, without the story is kind of easy. Not comfortable, but easy. But if you add story to it, anything becomes absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Anything. And that's why to learn to differentiate between thoughts and sensation can be very supportive. Because you see that our life often is not that terrible. And even if it is really terrible, you don't have time to think. If it is really terrible, you don't ask yourself, oh, what is suffering? You are just doing something. If you are in a war zone, there's no time of thinking I'm suffering. You are just, surviving or killing or doing whatever you know it's according to do. There's no time for I'm suffering. There is time for suffering when you are perfectly fine, the belly full, money, then you start to ask question. That's the thought that is kicking in. And that's the madness of our human time. Like the human never have, not all of us, but a lot, never have been so wealthy, so safe. So not all of us, but a lot, object and things. And we are miserable. It's just, So the one who don't need to survive are depressed for no reason because it's just thoughts. And the one who was surviving, well, they're surviving. So it's it can be very challenging to be at peace. So no one is happy. Just crazy. But all of this because of thoughts, mostly. Your life, my life is not that terrible. And any human life, no matter the circumstances, no matter what, is not that terrible. If you withdraw thoughts, it's kind of beautiful. Because when you withdraw thoughts, when you start to see thought, you start to see that time is an illusion, identification is an illusion, so you're not a person in a body. And you start to understand the choice, the deep meaning of choice, which is not the way we think it is. The challenge is that you cannot negate what's happening. To produce, I'm not a person, so I don't care about my work. Really, if you care about your work, you cannot deny that you care about your work. But don't judge it. There's nothing wrong. No, it's really about exploring and to be very, very sensitive. But like I say, every interpretation is within you, right? So the good and the bad. So when we are depressed, when we are feeling stuck and all of this, it's because there is often a thinking habit that is associated with sensation often. Like when I feel a contraction in my belly, that means that I'm sad. This is a message because there is kind of a habit of triggering together in a way, yes. So when I feel a tension in my stomach, the psyche is start to say, okay, so I'm sad, I have to be sad, and then you become sad, not because of the tension, but because of the wrong interpretation of what's happening, the wrong interpretation of the sensation. Just like happiness. If someone gives you a hug, you feel happy and listen, understand, and all of that. But that's a story, that's a sensation. Someone that can hug you and doesn't want you any good. What's the difference? The story that you tell yourself. And the people who are depressed, or because they have very strong tendency into a very specific thought patterns, which is connected with sensations. Right? That's why if you start to disentangle both of them, it will be easier and easier. Because you see that a tension in the stomach doesn't mean that you are sad. It just means that the stomach is tense. Right? And if you look in the mirror and you lose your hair, doesn't mean that you are ugly. It just means that there is less hair on the head. Doesn't mean anything. It's just a story that we tell ourselves.
Hmm.
Thank you, Patea. Bye-bye. Patea is leaving.
Hmm. So to your point, I mean, I think that there is this feeling that I have that there's something, I've talked about this before, but this feeling that there's something wrong with me, you know? And there is I've heard enough people say, and I believe that it may be true that there isn't actually anything wrong with me, but still having that feeling in spite of feeling like there's something, the feeling is still there despite what you say that, my life is reasonably good. Like I'm not in fear of
Yeah.
survival most of the time. Like that almost makes it even more frustrating. Like I don't have a reason to feel this way, which
Yeah.
means that, which makes it seem so much further out of control. You know? Like here's the thing that
Yeah.
has no explanation, like no reason for existence, and yet it's here and it can't be made to go away. And it's just like that almost makes it even seem more powerful, more even more inevitable, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so that's kind of the feeling that I've been having. And I recognize that most of, what I'm experiencing is in thought. Like this it is a thought that there's something wrong with me. It is a thought that, I may not ever be happy or something, it's like it's all thoughts, projections into the future, judgments about myself and kind of what's going on. Even the judgment that all of it is a problem that needs to be solved or fixed somehow. I don't I don't know. It's just it's very it's frustrating in a way because yeah, because I want to do something about it. And I recognize that it seems like as long as I feel like I have that judgment, like I don't like it or I want to do something about it, then it's almost a sign that like progress can't be made as long as I feel that way. I don't know. That's just a story and an interpretation, but that's a narrative that the narrative I guess I'm believing at the moment. So
Well, there is something wrong with you.
hmm.
Better?
I don't know. Maybe.
No, there is something with wrong with all of us.
Hmm.
Because we identify with the object of our
Mhm.
experience. That's the fundamental error that everyone that is experiencing a body or having any kind of experience is in the process of doing it constantly. So there is
Right.
something wrong with all of us.
Hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, that's interesting. So I think that's part of the reason why I find like non-duality in general to be compelling. It's one of the few, it's maybe the only thing that says like, all right, well, there is something potentially wrong with you. There may be some hope that, there's some way, there's some way out, I guess, of this feeling.
Mhm. Yeah.
But maybe I'm just confused about this, but I'm just kind of like, okay, well, this hope, this feeling of seeking a solution is also like, is that not some kind of diversion away from,
No.
okay, well, that's
Well,
good to know.
I know some teachers and some teachings that say if you seek to change something is because you are lost and all of this. But the difficulty with that is right, but the difficulty is you take this teaching and you use it against yourself.
Right.
It's like longing for happiness and peace and joy is just longing for who you are, because that's the quality of what you are. So if you don't feel them, it's normal that you will seek for them. And denying this seeking is denying the very longing for life itself, which is, I think it can be very confusing. So the finite mind is always identify with anything that appear, and it always make things personal, right? So awareness, that was what we are. There is one awareness, and we all have that. Misidentify itself with the phenomena. It's a specific aspect of phenomena, which is the body and the psyche, right? From the mind, right? You identify with that. And once it does that, it gets very confused. So there is nothing wrong with awareness, but the awareness is doing something wrong. It's a doing. So it's not a I'm wrong. I'm doing something. I am wrong as awareness of being. No, I'm just confused. I'm in the process. I'm in an activity that is producing suffering toward myself because I'm misidentifying myself. But the mind, the finite mind, the brain, right? Because it appropriates everything, it feels this longing and this confusion, right? And it say, I am confused, right? So it make this longing personal. It make this error of perception an error of being, but the error is not in what you are, neither as a person, neither as a awareness. The error is, or the mistake is to identify with that.
Yeah.
So I will try to really reinterpret, to reinterpret, to tell you another story about this longing. Instead of having this longing, oh, I'm longing, so therefore I'm running away from from a difficulty because I need to clean those difficulty, because I need to do this and that, and all of these shadow work stories and all of this, which is fine. But you can tell you another story, which is, oh, if you long for something, it's because you remember the taste of it, right? I mean, if you search for something, it's because something in you remember what it is. You cannot search for something that you have absolutely no memory of it, right? Because how you will know what it is. So there is something in you that knows that is suffering, is confusion, is pain. There is something more and doesn't feel right. Yeah. So instead to invalidate this aspect, I would say, I would encourage it to say, yeah, of course there's something wrong because I'm suffering. Of course, there is something that is not working here. And then, the perspective is very different, because then you are seeking a way out. Yes, it's true. We are all seeking a way out. That's why we are here. If you're not seeking a way out, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be speaking. You're not here. So if you are having a human experience, that because some part of you is feel trapped and it is seeking something else, right? So that's fine. But the thing is, you're not seeking out by avoiding, right? The struggle, the drama, the thought, the sensation, the tension, the emotion. On the contrary, the way out is to zoom in inside. That way, like I say often with the monster under the bed, with the child. If a child is afraid that there's a monster under the bed, you will never convince him that there's no monster, because he is already in that belief. And the only way that he has the teaching is giving him the strength to make him look under the bed, right? So the way out of the nightmare is having the strength to look at it completely and fully. So when you say, like, there is a child that is afraid of the monster under the bed, and you tell him, you shouldn't find the fear and let it happen. It's like, no, if he believes that there's a monster under the bed, it's normal that he's longing to step out of the room, right? But so, yeah, and so now that's the point that you were speaking at the beginning, right? It is escaping, right? Of course, you say, no, don't leave the room, because leaving the room will not be a solution for your fear. So yeah, don't run away. Yeah, don't no, that's true. If you step out of the room, you are running away. That's true. Nothing will change, so it doesn't work. But looking under the bed will. But now, that's what I'm talking about. The impulse to leave the room and the impulse to look under the bed come from the same impulse, which is, I want to be free from fear. And this impulse is valid. And I want to validate this, right? So there is something in that say, I'm suffering and there is something that is not working. This is the monster under the bed, right? If you try to avoid your problems and trying to, to do whatever, what you do when you do that, that's where you are running, you are stepping outside the room. But the same impulse, I want to be free from fear, we have to give you enough strength to look under the bed, which is to feel the emotion, to feel the drama that is appearing. But the strength comes from the same impulse. So from my perspective, I wouldn't invalidate this longing for peace.
Hmm.
I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does. It does. The situation I find myself in is that I feel that I'm, I want to look under the bed because I understand that that's the path that's closer to, some kind of lasting peace, right? And so I feel like I've tried very hard to do that, and there is a sense of like, well, I've done that. Yeah, I'm trying really hard to do that. I've made that like the priority, and yet I still like it hasn't really worked for me, you know? And so there's a frustration there, and there's a frustration there, and I guess lately I've gotten some feedback that like some kind of surrender may be in order, a surrender of this feeling of control. And that as long as I'm trying to, because I've been trying to look under the bed for a while and I just haven't found it helpful. I'm frustrated and like continuing to do more of the same. Like I'm starting to see that like it begins to feel futile or inevitable in that way. And I guess I'm just having a really hard time um I guess knowing what, if anything, there is to do from here,
Well, you say it seems futile,
Mm.
and it's agreeable for you. It's positive for you to feel this futility.
Mm. I would say my main feelings towards it are frustration, a hopelessness, a little bit of despair. But on the other hand, there's also, I don't know. I would say that's what's really here. I think that,
Hopelessness and frustration,
yeah,
and you feel them right now.
yeah. I mean, I think they're always right under this, right near the surface of my
So
experience.
where do you feel them in the body? What kind of sensation it is? Describe it in a somatic way. This hopelessness and frustration.
I mean, I have to say that most of it is still thought based, like that the story, the narrative, the
No, no,
feeling of
stop. I
hopelessness.
understand. Now
Yeah,
just tell me what you
the
feel.
sensation. Mm.
That's it. Don't judge. Just tell me if it's. I feel my little finger tense. That's enough. You
Mhm.
don't have to know to feel the. Just
No, no, there's a feeling of
where,
tightness in the stomach,
where. Okay,
right,
okay,
here.
okay. You feel it?
Hmm.
Does this sensation have a story?
No, not really. It's just there.
Well, this is looking under the bed. Is that hard?
No, I don't think it's hard, but in my moment-to-moment experience, um, I just I'm I think the thoughts are what I get caught up in.
Right now, what do you feel in your body?
In the body, it's just the tightness in the stomach.
Stay with that. You see, there's a breathing now. And stay with that. And then thought will come back. Okay, but how long? Again, feel the body. Go back to sensation. Feel the body. Go back to sensation. Feel the body. And when you are tired of doing this, you keep it on for a year or 10. Just feel the body, feel the body, feel the body, feel the body. Learn to be with sensation, because sensation is the biggest part of our experience. Thought like to believe that thinking is a big part of it. Like, my thoughts are very big, my thought this, my thought that. In fact, the biggest part of experience is sensing. And thought, it's really like not much.
Mm. And so, since I've identified kind of this feeling in the stomach, is that kind of where I should look whenever I have these kinds, whenever I have this narrative, whenever I have this kind of suffering, or should I just kind of be looking everywhere? And
Well, when you start to pay attention with to the field of sensing, to the body, you will see that you will start to see the connection between sensation and emotion and thoughts. Sometimes there will be a thought and there will be a sensation, seemingly the cause will be the thought and the effect will be the sensation. And sometimes it will be the opposite. There will be a sensation and the thought will be applied to it. So you will start to see that there is some correlation between thought and sensations. But the more you see this, the more you will give space to it. And most importantly, you will learn to be with sensation. You know how to be with thoughts. So that's why it's easy, because we are all lost in them most of the time. But we have forgot just to be with sensing. And often we go to the body for a resolution. We are hunting. When we go to our body, we are very, very violent. We are very aggressive with the body. We go into the body only to get rid of something, almost. So at some point, we have to learn to engage with sensation from a place of curiosity and tenderness and welcoming. And that's a soft spot to be. Because often when we feel uncomfortable, like, I don't like this situation, there is a tension. Well, of course, because it is uncomfortable, it will be difficult to be with the sensation in a tender way and welcoming the sensation. But if you start to learn to be with the sensation, it can be it can be great. And the more you do this, the more you will see that the situation around you is not causing the physical tension. I mean, there is many different good things, but I'm just try and see, and just learn to be with sensation, positive and negative. But if you're struggling with something, go with sensation, but try to put the story and the narrative on the side, and to be with the raw sensation.
okay. I'll try that for a little bit.
Because I think the biggest part of the situation and that we want to resolve in event in the world in our relationship is really because we feel something bad, we feel uncomfortable within us. But the mind has all kind of story. That's why people, for example, who feel that very empathic, right? They go into the hospital or they want to save humanity. Often they are very aggressive because they don't care about humanity. They feel uncomfortable in themselves. So they want to arrange everything so they stop feeling something comfortable within them. But if you are peaceful within you, then you can support and help if you are called to, but it doesn't come from despair. The other person is not the cause of your despair. But anyway, I mean, there is just learn just to be with your body and you will see it. It will take you a long way. One of the difficulties to be with the body without falling into the story. That's the difficult part. It's very simple to do, but it's easy. It's hard to apply it.
David,
Yeah.
can I ask, when we do this, if I stay with the body sensations, is there like a goal or further direction, or just stay until what? Until the sensation like dissipates, or until I'm okay with it being there? Like, what am I looking to experience with this exploration?
That's exactly the question that you want to put aside.
So am I saying anything you said to be gentle? Am I saying it's okay, calm down, or am I saying let me just be with you? What am I doing actually?
My advice is to learn to be with raw sensation without thought, because I understand that if you say I welcome you that's a good story, but you are still in thought. You are still holding part of thought. The hard is just to be with raw sensation without purpose or intention. But you have to understand something. It's the body. For the body, there is no neutrality. Neutrality, it's an invention of the mind. It's a story. There's no neutrality. Everything is comfortable or uncomfortable. See, if it is comfortable, the body wants more. If it's uncomfortable, the body wants less. And that's it. There is no neutrality. So when you are within your sensation, you will always feel, oh, this is great, I want this more. And then, oh no, I don't like that. Oh, no, now. And some comfortable sensation become too much, and oh no, it's too much, I don't want this, and no, I want this. And this is just the field of sensing, yes, unfolding. So yes, Tammy, if it's useful to you, you can say, I welcome you. You can tell you nice things. You can tell all the beautiful story. That's great. That's great. At some point, it's like you feel sensing, you feel a movement. Why the arm is moving? I can tell a story about it, but who knows? It's just sensing. There's always sensing. And in fact, the body is never still. We are always tense. So tension it's part of the sensing in a way. But the mind need a reason to do things. That's why learning to be with sensing just in a really just neutral way and watching, it's very, very different. And that doesn't mean that, for example, when I do postural yoga, yes, or gymnastic, doesn't matter, but when you talk when you take a physical posture, there is a correct way to do it. So there is a correct way. There is a way to engage your muscle in a harmonious way that is correct. This is just, yes. So there is this part, but then there is something within it that is just being with what's happening. So what I want trying to point that the body is always in a posture. The body is always holding a posture. Right now I'm sitting, there is so many muscles engaged in being seated. So there is an intention there, being seated, right? But I don't have an intention when I'm feeling the sensation, right? So there is an intention that I'm sitting, so there is something that is holding the posture. But the witness, the awareness is just watching the posture.
I guess if you're saying that the body's never neutral, things are either good, like enjoyable, or uncomfortable, but then you're also saying that we're always uncomfortable because there's always a tension. And then I guess, what is the point of being with those uncomfortable sensations? If you're saying it's natural for us to seek the joy and we're always going to be in tension, then what is the point of this exploration of always of being with those sensations?
Okay. Ray, my belief is that Ray doesn't need a purpose because Ray like to control things, and that's, I feel, it's his issue. That's what he says sometimes, right? But but I feel that you really need a purpose. But anyway, the purpose is to identify with the body by ID. That is to say, if you take you both of you and all of you are listening, if you take your hand and you make a fist right now, and you just hold very, very tight the fist right now, just hold that tight fist, right? Is the fist tense? Feel it? Yes, the fist is, the hand is in tension. I will ask you, are you tense? Ray, are you tense right now?
No, it feels more like just my hand is tense.
Yeah, the hand is tense, but I'm not tense. I'm feeling the tension, right? That's the same when you are in fear and the whole body tightens. You are not tense. The body is tense. It's just like the hand. It just the field of sensing is tense, but I am not tense. And the mind is telling you, don't look at the body. You are not the body, so don't look at it, right? But in fact, it's the opposite. The most you look at the body, which is pure sensing, the more you will see that the sensation does not define yourself, does not define your state of being. So therefore, there can be a lot of tensions, and I'm not tense. I can be in a very difficult situation, but I'm not afraid. So one of the deepest purpose of exploring the body is to be free from it. Not that you are bound by it, but to be free from the belief that you are a body, in the sense that if the body feels fear, you are afraid. No, there can be fear, but I'm not afraid. Because fear, it's a sensing, it's an interpretation, it's a wrong interpretation of sensing.
That's very helpful, because for me, the hand, when you asked, it's not me, but my jaw and brow are furrowed all the time, and that feels like it is me.
Interesting, you see?
And so But you're saying
That's the
that can still
exploration.
happen. And I thought that has to stop for me to be free. But you're saying no, my jaw can be tense and my brow can be tense, but still it's not me. The body can be afraid and the mind can be afraid, but I can see it and realize those are not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's the process. That's why there is, but for the body, it can take years or decades, and depend how deep you are interested into those exploration. Not everyone is interested in those exploration of the body, but it can take a lot of time, often, to dissolve
Time
things.
for
Yeah.
it to be less tense.
Well, both of them, because in reality, the tension come from a wrong interpretation. Not all tension, but all of the emotional tension come from a wrong interpretation.
Mhm.
And there is different layers in the body. There is superficial tension, and then when you go deeper, there is different kind of layers.
So you're saying until it resolves, it's helpful to realize that's not me. So I don't have to be upset that I'm still afraid. I could say the body and mind are afraid, but that's not me. And that's like a first step until I see the wrong misinterpretations that cause the fear in the first place, which can take years. Yeah.
Yeah, but but you can say, like, oh, I feel fear. No, first I feel, I'm not afraid. No, I feel the fear. When you
Mm-hmm.
feel the fear, you have a lot of energy because
Mm-hmm.
you feel something. So there's a if you are afraid, you are paralyzed. You are doomed, right? So to say I'm not afraid I'm not the body, I'm not this is not a negation. It's the contrary. Give you more options. It gives you more sight on experience, and then you see that okay, I feel fear, and then you say often because this person, because he put it outside, right? But outside is an interpretation that's happening inside, right? So there is different way of exploring this. That's why I do a course and often take time, and I like to do that way. I think some people express it in a more direct way, which is fine, but often it's can be confusing.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you.
And that's why to make space between the thoughts and the sensations, there is a fear, and there is the story about that, right? There is an emotion, and then there is a story about the emotion. But then when you go deeper, you will see that an emotion is a sensation interpreted by the mind. But then you said to when you go deeper, you said to differentiate between both of them, and then you see that within sensation there is tension and there is relaxation. That's also an interpretation. So you said to, and that's how you dissolve and you dissolve and you dissolve. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yes, very much.
And one of the difficulties for the mind, it's not useful. So you try to dismiss this, Don't feel the body, just think about how to solve and control the person and the situation around you. And then you don't have to feel the body or anything because you have to control the situation. At some point in any person that is sane, realize that it's impossible. That that we can't control anything. So then the only option is to understand that I have to understand what is this mechanism of perception and interpretation. And I have to learn to be with my sensation. I have to, because there is no other way. when we when we are born, after I will conclude into this, but the story of birth is very interesting because the story of birth is there is a body which I don't know, but very early, I think at 3 months already, the body start to have sensations, right? Maybe even 2 months. That is that there is sensing in the body. The fetus is sensing things. There is a bit of sensing that start. Yeah, and then over time there is seeing and hearing that start in uterus. And then when it's born, it gets even stronger, right? There is sensory perception. So there is sensing at the beginning, then there is the layer of perceiving, and at the end, at 3 or 4 years, and the process, but there is thoughts and the identification that come here, right? And that's the sense of individuality that is kind of the package. A lot of people focus on thinking, thoughts, but when you have to go back and to go back, you have to do thought. The thought is a very, very, very small part, in fact. But you will see that, in fact, perceiving and it's a part, and sensing it's a biggest part. That's why there is a talk often about layers. Not that you are stuck anywhere or that you have to do something. It's just a way of communication. But yeah, don't want to confuse them even more. But that's why we have to learn to be with the sensation. We have to. Because anything that is meaningful to you happen in sensation. When you love someone, it doesn't happen in your thoughts. You don't think about it, you feel it. You feel it. Peace, you feel it. So anything that is meaningful in your life is in sensation. So often there can be this misunderstanding that, oh, I go into sensation, therefore I will just feel the fear and the anxiety. No, you will learn to be with the full spectrum of sensation, which is very blissful. A lot of things are amazing in sensation. Movement are amazing. Eating is a sensation with the taste, but I mean, the field of sense perception, it's really a beautiful place to explore. And a part of it, it's tension, it's fear, it's contraction, a part of it, but there's a lot of things that's very pleasure. That's a lot of pleasure. So don't think that I encourage you to explore sensing just to feel terrible. No, you will see that you will start to feel the more you're able to be with tension, the more you will feel the expansion, because you are learning to engage with the field of sensing, and the field of sensing is an infinity spectrum of sensation. So that's why that this is my motivational speech for sensing the body. I hope it works. And the mind will always say, this is boring, and what else, and now what, and what will happen? Like, what is good for me, for my life, for my desire, for my purpose, yeah, that's the mind. The thought will never change, so you just have to get used to it and learn to be with sensing. And as I say often, the good way is to, of course, to be when it's difficult, but to learn to be when it's enjoyable. We also forget there. When you are with friends, having a good time, great, enjoy, talk, drink, whatever makes you enjoy. But feel the joy is not in thought. The joy it's a sensation. It's something in the body. So feel it when you are talking with your friends. You laugh and feel the laugh. Feel the laugh. Feel the movement. Feel the touch. Feel it. Not think only. Because the biggest part again that what you want is in sensations. Okay.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ray. Let me know how it goes next week, okay? Tammy and Ray. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you,
you, David.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye.